And initially, this was going to be product and quotient, but I felt like each of them, the math is a little bit more intense than what I'd like to put into one full video, so I decided to break them up into their own individual ones. So we're going to work on the product rule first. Now, part of the math behind this comes from a little bit of hand waving with basic functions. So let's just take a look at the graph. Let's say this is our function. Here's the y, here's the x. So here's our x value, then here's our x plus h. This value back here would be f of x, and this would be f of x plus h. Alright, so far nothing that we haven't done yet. And this is all to make the math that comes later a little bit easier. And really there's something I can add to this f of x to get up to here. And we're going to call that delta f. So what do I mean? That means that f of x plus h equals f of x plus some change to f. And if we wanted to figure out what that change was, well, we subtract f of x from both sides. So it starts to look a little bit like our derivative rule. And f of x plus h minus f of x equals delta f. Alright, so keep this and this in the back of your minds for what's about to come. Alright, so we're going to do product rule. And product rule is f of x equals g of x times j of x. I'm using j here instead of h to make things a little less complicated, because I felt in the sum and difference video that there were a lot of h's being thrown around, so a little hard to follow. So I'm going to use j of x instead for this one. So f of x plus h is going to be g of x plus h times j of x plus h. And when we first sub into our limit rule, which remember is this, plus h minus f of x over h, we're going to end up with this. Limit as h goes to 0 of g of x plus h, j of x plus h, minus g of x times j of x, all over h. Looks a little complicated, and I'm a little slanted here. It's a bit better. But now, if we go back up to here, we have kind of a value to put in for these in terms of just the basic function of x. So we'll have g of x plus delta g times j of x plus delta j minus g of x, j of x, all over h. Oops. Now you might be thinking to yourself, wow, I don't know what else I could do from here. But you've got a binomial times a binomial. You can FOIL it. So we'll end up with the limit as h goes to 0. I have to get to a new page soon. We'll have g of x, j of x, plus g of x times delta j, plus j of x times delta g, plus delta g delta j, minus g of x, j of x. All over h. And lo and behold, g of x, j of x, and we have a minus g of x, j of x. So these will cancel out, and I'll be left with, go to a new page so I have some room to work with, limit as h goes to 0, of g of x delta j plus j of x delta g plus delta g delta j all over h. Whoa, sorry about that. There we go. So what happens from here? Well, I'm going to split them up into each of their own limits. G of x delta j over h plus j of x delta g over h plus limit h goes to 0 of delta g delta j over h This is just j prime, and this is g prime. So what happens? Well, g of x is constant, so it's not, when h goes to 0, g of x doesn't change. So it's going to be g of x times j prime of x plus the same idea here. J of x doesn't change while h changes, but delta g over h becomes g prime of x. Now here's the fun part. These both change with the limit, so I can't pull either one out. But that part there is the derivative, so that's g prime of x times the limit as h goes to 0 of delta j. Well, that means in this case it's j of x plus h minus j of x. As h goes to 0, I get j of x minus j of x, which is 0. So this whole term goes away. And I'm left with f prime of x equaling g of x j prime of x plus j of x times g prime of x. Or to put it simply, I have the first function times derivative of the second plus second function times derivative of the first. Alright, and there's your product rule. And next video will be quotient rule, and I'll see you there.